Hello, so we start iterate after we set up the project. It's ready to move on to iteration number 2, and in this iteration we're going to create the help screen. So we completed iteration 1, we blend our process and our project, and we set up Xcode for our project, set up the different screens and the different custom controllers. Here is our plan, and we are moving on to the help screen. Apply the app development process, problem formulation. We do some research, so if there is additional research that you need to do, go ahead and do it. And then define the scope. So what exactly we're going to do, we're gonna create the help screen, set up the project navigation, which I did already in the project setup. So we had that first part in the project setup, we don't need it here. And then they create the help screen itself, what's inside it. In the testing, the user will navigate to the help screen, be able to read the instructions, and test the different nodes. So how are we going to do that? We follow the model view controller in formulating our solution, design pattern in formulating our solution. So in the model, the help screen has some text. If this text changes, maybe you want to put it in a file and read it from the file, or if it's a static text, you can just type it in. That's what we're going to do. We'll type in the instruction text. You may want to look at the design that we have for the app, since we already sketched it in a user interface mockup. So here is what the screen will look like. So we have text here that is fixed text, and then we have buttons that connect to the different files. So the only data item we have here is the actual music note file, and we're gonna save that in an MP3 music file. And as we learned in iteration 1, there is a library called AV Audio Player that we're going to use to play the MP3 file. The name of the file is the same as the note name. Now this is very important because the file is an actual physical file in the app, and even though I can load the file, we need somehow to relate these buttons to the file. So if the user click on button A, I need to figure out that the user means play the file for the A note. How am I gonna do this mapping between the actual file and the user selection? So in this example, I'm using the name of the file to be the same as the note name and to be the same as the text on the button. So the text on the button is the same as the note name, is the same as the file name. And that's how I map all of them together. The view, we looked at the view. We need a UI label to display the information and a button for each of the nodes. The controller, so there is only one action here, is that the user will click on the button to listen to the sound for that particular node. So this is where the controller will come into action. So the controller will need to respond to the user pressing a button. The controller needs to know which button it is, and then load the music file, the MP3 file that corresponds to that file, and play it for the user. Different considerations here. Should the controller loads all the music files into the app memory and wait for the user to make a selection, or should the controller load the file only when the user make a selection? You can go either way. Performance is the big criteria in something like this. You want the controller to know the path to the file name, but perhaps not put the actual MP3 in memory until you know that the user wants that particular MP3 file. So we're gonna have, when the app loads, we want to initialize an audio player, and then when the user click on the button, we want the iOS, the operating system, to pass to us the button that was clicked and retrieve from that button the name, the text that's on the button name, and then use that as the file name to retrieve the name of to retrieve the MP3 file and then play it. We will need to spend time on learning about the AV audio player, how to initialize an audio player, and uh, how to initialize an audio player, and how to actually play after you initialize. And we'll do that when we move to Xcode part of the project. Solution implementation, we already set up the navigation and the help screen. We set up the custom controller, so we need to add the label with instruction. When we're gonna start first by adding one button to play the A note, and practice to make sure that we get that one correctly. Once we get one button correctly, we can then add the rest of the button and run the app and test it. So it's kinda, I'm breaking this down into sub iterations, like the adding the label first, and then adding the button, and then adding the rest of the music notes for the project. And once we do that, hopefully it all will work fine. So that's the help screen, and we'll move on in the next video and build that and learn more about the AV audio player.